The stars spoke first. Not with sound, but with light. They formed shapes ancient, symbols across 10,000 systems at once. Ships paused. Planets froze. And across every screen, every wall, every sky. These words appeared. You were never just human. And suddenly, everyone remembered again. The truth was back. But this time, so was everything else. Hook, the dream that killed Timmy, a scientist named Dr. Harsa, slept for 30 minutes. When she woke up, 3 days had passed. She was alone in her lab, but everything had changed. Her files were open. Her walls covered in writing symbols, stars, DNA spirals, and a sentence repeated over and over. You are the gateway, not the destination. Security footage showed no one entered. She had drawn it all in her sleep, and her voice recorded had whispered something again and again. We were never meant to stay human. Just to start there, the flame towers began to sing on every major world. The memory towers began to glow. They didn't blink. They sang. Not music, but something deeper, truth. In vibration. People could feel it in their blood. It told them things they had forgotten even after the memory wars. That humans were never just one species. That the Koreshans were not tools, they were attempts. That the first empire was only the first layer, and beneath it, something else. Talon-Jor and the mirror Skydolan stood in the plains of Zeros 9. Under the mirror sky. He looked up and saw himself. Not as he was. As he had been. As he could be. Multiple versions. All standing still. All watching. Then, they spoke in one voice. You were the key. Not to a weapon. Not to memory. To transformation. And the sky opened. He stepped inside. Juno. Cass learns the final layer. Juno was deep in the Koreshian caves when the child appeared. The same girl who had spoken galaxies back in part 6. She looked up at him with glowing eyes. They all think remembering was the goal. But memory was just the gate. The truth is, human was never a race. It was a starting shape. Then she touched his chest, and Juno saw stars being born from skin. Bones, turning into crystal. Words becoming planets. You are not the end of evolution, she said. You are its first choice. Mira Lane confronts the last door inside the council ruins. Mira found a door without walls. It floated mid-air, black and gold, etched with every symbol humans had ever created. A voice whispered, once you step through, you stop being who you were. You start being what you were always meant to become. She asked, will I still be human? The voice answered, you never were. She stepped through. Galaxy rewrites itself across thousands of worlds. People began glowing. Minds merged, not in control, but in understanding. The alien became familiar. The self became limitless. This was not death. This was not war. It was the next shape. The galaxy was not changing humans. Humans were changing the galaxy. By being what they always were. Memory, fire, gate, key, living potential. The silence returns one last time. The ancient eyes returned one final time. But now, they did not look at humans with hunger. They looked with fear, because humans were no longer bound by old memory. They had evolved through it. The eyes tried to erase again, but their power passed through people, like water through light. Talon-Jor spoke to them, not in rage, but in truth. We know who we are. We carry the silence, but we choose to speak. And the eyes blinked one final time, and closed forever. What comes after human? The question spread. People asked it across systems. Even children wondered, if we're not just human anymore, what are we? The answer wasn't a name. It wasn't a flag. It wasn't a shape. It was a choice. To remember. To evolve. To become. Final gathering. The flame of becoming on the edge of the galaxy. Where nothing had ever lived, the new gathering happened. Not a council. Not a court, but a circle of becoming. Talon-Jor. Mira Lane. Juno. Cass. L. Shaw. The child of galaxies. Others whose names had not yet been spoken. They stood in a ring of living flame, and Mira said, "The first empire was human. The last shall be whatever we choose next." And the flame rose high, not to burn, but to light the path. Final words, a message to the stars across every planet. One final message appeared in the sky. You were never just human. You were the first step of forever. And the stars? The stars began to answer back. The message from Earth haunted every meeting in the Galactic Union. Speak again, and we will end the stars. After that warning, no one knew what to do. Some believed it was a bluff. Others were afraid. Many wanted to investigate. But fear had wrapped its claws around the council. Still, silence couldn't last forever. Union needed answers. They chose a new mission. Go to Earth, make peaceful contact, find out the truth. And this time, they would send a face, not just machines. Captain Velar stood aboard his ship, the Curiosity's mirror, staring at the coast. Giant hollow map of Sol System. Around him, his crew sat quietly. The last mission had changed them. Velar knew something the others didn't. He had seen the empty cities of Earth, the message burned on the moon, the fleet of human warships floating in the shadows. And the warning that had come from nothing? No signal, no source, just a voice that had frozen every being who heard it. Still, he had agreed to go back. The Union Council had promised peace. No tricks, no weapons. This was a diplomatic mission, just words. Just understanding. But Velar knew. Words might be the most dangerous weapon now. They entered Sol System in complete silence. No hails. No calls, just motion. This time they didn't go to Earth. They picked Mars, quiet, forgotten, but once used by humans as a research base. The red planet circled slowly under them as the Curiosity's mirror sent 3 landing drones to the surface. A few seconds later, the main landing ship followed. The wind over Mars blew soft red dust across the ruins of an old base. The metal walls were rusted, but still standing. Above the airlock door, faint human letters remained. Outpost Eden 9, speak carefully. Inside, there was no sign of struggle. It was clean. Too clean. The lights flickered on the moment Velar's team entered. A motion sensor. Power was still running. That alone was shocking. "Sir," the engineer said, "this base should have been abandoned decades ago." Velar touched the control panel. It wasn't abandoned. It was prepared. They walked through narrow halls, past strange machines and empty rooms. A lab still had notes pinned to the walls, written in Earth Standard English. The scientist on the team translated softly. "We tested voice loss memory today. Subjects forgot basic functions when hearing trigger phrases. One human said, 'I don't remember my own name. The code is working.'" "What is this?" asked the pilot. "Some kind of mind weapon?" "No," Velar said slowly. "Something worse. It's not to attack the body. It's to erase trust in speech itself." In the command center of the base, they found a sealed server, no lights, no energy signature. But when Velar approached, it activated. A hologram flickered on. A female human stood in front of them. She was calm, dressed in an old lab uniform. Her image was old, glitchy. She looked straight at Velar. "You came back." The crew stared. "If you are hearing this, Earth has chosen silence. You broke trust. You poisoned words. You listened only to fear and control. So we chose another path." Vela stepped closer. "What path?" The hologram blinked. "No sound, no lies, no diplomacy, no manipulation. Silence is peace. Speech is war." And then it said something strange. "You must pass through the music now." The screen turned black. They returned to the ship confused. What did pass through the music mean? Then the comms buzzed. A strange sound came through, soft piano music. No voice, no message. just an old human song. Slow, haunting, beautiful. Crew listened. It repeated. Each time, one of the science officers noticed a pattern in the notes. It wasn't just music. It was coordinates. Sir, said the comms officer, shocked. It's pointing to the edge of the solar system. A dead sector, Velar frowned. What's out there? Nothing. No planets, no stations. Just cold space. Velar gave the order. We follow the music. It took hours to reach the destination. Space grew darker. Sensors grew weaker. Then there it was. A single object floating alone. A large black cube. No lights. No power. But made of human alloy. They approached carefully. The cube didn't move. No sound. No heat. But as they drew near, the ship's lights flickered. And then, the cube opened. Inside was not a weapon, not a person, not even a machine. It was a speaker, a single, old, Earth-style speaker. Round, dusty, cracked. It turned on. The same piano music played, but this time, a voice whispered over it. A human voice. The Union broke the promise. Lied, controlled, watched, limited. So we stopped. We learned to speak without sound, to command without language, to exist beyond speech. Velar asked, "What do you want from us?" The voice answered, "Nothing. Do not call again. Next time." "We will reply in silence." The speaker exploded. No blast. No fire. Just a pulse of nothing. Sound vanished from the bridge. All instruments froze. Velar grabbed his communicator to shout an order, but no sound came from his mouth. He turned to the crew. All were trying to speak. Nothing. For 10 full minutes, there was only silence. Then, just as suddenly, it returned. Voices, systems, air, all came back. What was that? Gasped the engineer. A warning, Velar said. When they returned to the Union, panic broke out. The Union Council met in secret. Many members demanded action. Humanity must not be allowed to grow unchecked. They said, their silence is aggression. Others, like Velar, begged for caution. They are beyond us now, he said. They are no longer using communication as we know it. They have evolved their warning into a weapon. The council asked him, "What should we do?" Velar answered, "Say nothing, listen, watch, and never speak first." But one counselor didn't agree. A loud one. He opened a direct channel. To Earth, he sent a message. "We are the Union. You will return to the table, or we will make you." The message was short. The reply came immediately. No sound. No light, but every screen across the galaxy flickered for a moment. One word appeared on all of them, in blood-red text, "Noted." 1 hour later, the counselor who sent the message died. Heart failure, the doctor said. But he was young, strong, healthy. And he had been alone in a soundproof room. A soundproof room. No one had entered. No one had left. And yet, he was dead. Velar stood alone in his quarters, staring at Earth's last known image. The blue planet didn't blink. Didn't speak. Didn't need to. They had made their point. Humanity didn't need weapons anymore. They had made silence into one. And the galaxy was finally listening. Galaxy held its breath. After the Union's last attempt to contact Earth, one of its counselors died mysteriously. No sound, no warning. Only a red word flashed on every screen, "Noted." Since then, no one dared speak to Earth again, but questions remained. Where had the humans gone? What had they become? And why did music seem to be their new language? Captain Velar had seen enough to believe the humans hadn't just disappeared. They had evolved. And they had turned silence into a weapon. Now he was chasing their final clues in songs. Hook, first 5 to 7 minutes of strange transmission, had been found drifting in the void between stars. No signal origin. No call sign. Just a melody. Old Earth piano music. The same tune played on loop. Soft. Emotional. It had no lyrics. Just 8 simple notes, repeating again and again. But when Union codebreakers analyzed it, they found something terrifying. The notes formed coordinates. They pointed to a system, long forgotten, a dead system. But when the Union sent a probe there, it vanished. Then they sent a second one. It vanished too. Now they had sent Velar and his crew. And this time, they weren't just going to watch, they were going to land. Main story begins. The Curiosity's mirror moved slowly through the dead system. There were no stars here, only the black shadows of planets, long frozen. Velar looked out at the dark world ahead. It had no name, only a number, RZ-79. No colony ever existed there. No reason for anyone to visit. And yet, the music had led them here. Velar gave the order, prepare landing shuttle. Small team only. On the surface of RZ-79, the wind was sharp and cold. No life. No sound, but there was something. A building. Not alien. Human. It was shaped like a dome. Half buried in black ice, but still standing strong. As the team entered, the airlock hissed open by itself. They stepped inside. The lights flickered on. Everything inside was clean, ordered, ready. A speaker on the wall crackled. Then came the sound, that same 8-note piano tune. One of the science officers whispered, "It's the same melody from the ghost transmission." A voice followed. You followed the music. It was human, male, calm. You came to know why we stopped speaking, why we chose silence. Velar stepped forward. We came to understand. The voice continued, as if ignoring him. Speech was weaponized. Diplomacy twisted. Peace talks poisoned. So we rewired our minds, trained our thoughts, turned our memories into music. Music became our new code. Velar asked, "Who are you?" The voice replied, "I am not a person. I am a record of pain. A memory, repeated again and again, so it cannot be forgotten." Then the lights changed. A door opened deeper into the dome. Inside was a massive room with hundreds of machines, each playing a different human song. Classical, jazz, folk, military drums. Some sad, some angry. The walls displayed holograms, humans. Crying in meetings, shouting in battles. Walking out of peace summits. Each memory had a melody. Each emotion had a note. The AI voice explained. Every war began with words. Every betrayal began with speech. So we made a new rule, music only. If it cannot be sung, it cannot be used to lie. The melody changed. Now it was harsh, fast, urgent. The science officer translated it using the melody code the Union had created. Her face turned pale. It says, "They came. They watched. They lied. They broke the gate." Velar stepped forward. "The Union?" She nodded slowly. 20 years ago. We promised Earth full access to the Galactic Gate system. But the Council secretly added limiters. They trapped us, said Velar. The voice confirmed. Double quotes, yes. You feared our strength. So you slowed our growth. You broke our trust. And we never forgot. A panel opened. Inside was a chair made for a human. A helmet hovered over it. Strange wires pulsed with light. The voice spoke again. One of you may enter the memory. See it. Feel it. Understand why we left the voice behind. Velar looked at his crew. I'll go. They helped him into the chair. The helmet came. Down. Everything went black. Inside the memory, Velar found himself standing in a human conference room. Thousands of leaders. Flags of many worlds. And at the front, a human ambassador speaking passionately. Give us truth. Let us rise. We earned our place. A Union official replied coldly, you are dangerous. We limit you for the safety of all. The human's face broke. Not with rage, with sadness. Then the memory fast forwarded. Earth shut down. Humans withdrew. They began building underground cities, cutting all voice-based systems. teaching only silent communication. Velar saw families using gestures, scientists playing code through music, soldiers training with silence. He felt the pain, the betrayal, the quiet power. He felt their decision. Never again will our pain come through speech. Never again will we be tricked by words. We will become the storm you cannot hear. The helmet lifted. Vel single quotes AR gasped for air. He now understood. They hadn't disappeared. They had transformed. They hadn't become monsters. They had become warnings. As the team prepared to leave, one final panel opened. A black cube. Inside, a small object, a human music player. It had one song loaded. The science officer analyzed it. It's another code, but it's not a warning. She paused. It's an invitation. Back aboard the Curiosity's mirror, they played the song. Velar stood in the center of the command deck. The music filled the room, and a final message appeared on the main screen. One last chance. To hear before you speak, to listen before you control, to feel before you rule. The music stopped. Silence followed. Velar looked at the crew. We can't go back, he said. Not to the council, not with lies. The stars outside blinked. And deep in the galaxy, more music began to play. Humanity had gone silent, but their echoes were still speaking. The galaxy thought humans were finished. They thought Earth had gone quiet because it was weak, broken, defeated. But silence was not surrender. It was the sound of something changing, and now the silence had started watching back. Hook. First 5 to 7 minutes. The Galactic Union Council met in secret. Their top minds were frightened. Reports had come from across the stars. Ambassadors were collapsing during speeches. Soldiers froze mid-command. Translators lost entire languages from their memory. All of them had something in common. They had tried to speak about Earth. A frightened scientist stood before the council. Her voice shook as she explained, "We have confirmed it. The silence from Earth is not passive. It is infecting thought." The council president raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" She tapped her screen. "There is a code hidden inside. Their music, their silence. A nonverbal pattern, something that affects the brain. Not physically, cognitively, emotionally, like a virus of ideas." Another council member leaned forward. "What is it doing?" The scientist looked at them with horror. "It's teaching our minds to fear speaking." Main story begins. Captain Velar had returned from the human memory dome in RZ-79. Since then, he had not spoken much. Something inside him had changed. He stood on the bridge of the Curiosity's mirror, staring at deep space scans. His crew noticed he didn't give orders out loud anymore. He only pointed or nodded. He even moved with less noise, like a ghost in armor. They didn't dare ask why. One day, a crew member finally asked in a whisper, "Sir, are we being watched?" Velar didn't respond. He simply turned to the forward screen. There, floating in space, was a small black drone. No engines, no power. Just watching. It had been following them for 3 days. The drone never spoke. It never moved. It just remained close. Every time they changed course, it followed. Every time they stopped, it stopped. Scans showed no signal, no radio, no life. But then, crew members started having the same dreams. Each one dreamed they were on Earth. Alone. Surrounded by empty buildings, silent skies, and shadowy humans pointing at them. In every dream, a voice whispered, "Do not lie again." The ship's medical officer called it a coincidence. But the engineer had another theory. "It's communication, sir," he said. "Just not the kind we're used to." Velar nodded slowly. He understood now. Humans were no longer trying to send messages through sound. They were reaching into minds through patterns, memory, emotion. It wasn't magic. It was a kind of neural code made possible by silence. Drome was a conductor, and they were inside the concert. On day 5, Things got worse. One of the comms officers tried to send a log back to the Union. It wasn't even about humans, just a system report. The moment he hit send, his nose started bleeding. Then his ears. Then he collapsed, whispering. The silence. It's inside me. He died with no wounds. No virus, no explanation. The report was never sent. Velar called a full lockdown. No outgoing communication. No sound-based systems. Only writing. Only data. Still, the drone watched. That night, Velar had a dream too. He stood inside Earth's old UN building, but it was cracked and broken. On the floor lay the flags of many worlds, torn. At the far end of the hall stood a human child, staring at him, silent. She lifted her hand and pointed. Not at him, but at his voice. It floated in front of him like smoke, and then it turned black and vanished. Velar woke up gasping. And in his head, a message echoed without words. Your words killed peace. Your silence can still save life. Velar knew what to do. He turned the ship toward the center of the dead zone. The last location connected to human music patterns. They arrived 14 hours later. There was no planet. No station. Just a giant satellite clearly human-made. It had no antenna. No guns. No doors. Only a single phrase carved across the metal in dozens of languages. You were warned. Now you are being retaught. They sent no probe. They approached. In silence. When the ship reached the satellite, it reacted. A soft hum filled the ship's walls, not in sound, but vibration. And the crew began to feel. Watched. Thoughts turned foggy. Old regrets rose. Secrets surfaced. Crew members began whispering truths they had buried for years. One confessed he had lied in training. Another said he had once considered defecting to the Kral Ek. One by one, they emptied their hearts. And each time a truth was spoken, the vibration faded. Velar watched in awe. The humans weren't attacking. They were cleansing, turning secrets into signals, turning guilt into soundless forgiveness. This wasn't war. This was correction. Finally, Velar stepped forward. He looked at the satellite, and though he spoke no words, he opened his mind fully. He meant something deeply, honestly. We didn't listen. We tried to control. We are sorry. The satellite blinked once. And then it opened. Inside was a chamber. A single human figure sat in the center, eyes closed, hands folded. Not real. A hologram. It looked up. You have begun to listen. But your kind still speaks from fear. Return when your silence is true. The chamber powered down. And the satellite vanished. Back on the Curiosity's mirror, Velar wrote a single message to the Union. He didn't send it. He printed it by hand. And placed it in a sealed capsule. The message read, "They are not gone. They are not angry. They are simply finished with words." And with that, he locked all ship transmissions. In the months that followed, other Union ships began experiencing the same. Dreams. Truths. Silence. Some resisted. Those ships were never heard from again. Others, like Velar's crew, began teaching new ways of listening without sound, without threat, without power. A new code. A human code. The war code had been sound. Now the peace code was silence, and somewhere in the dark, the mind that watches was still waiting. The Galactic Union believed they still had time. Time to understand. Humans. Time to find peace again. Time to figure out the silence. They were wrong, because Earth's final answer had already been built. And now, it had started to move. Hook. First 5 to 7 minutes it began in the Outer Rim, a Union colony called Teskar 4, home to over 12 million citizens. Suddenly lost contact with the central network. Not just power loss. Total blackout. No COMMs. No signals. No survivors. Scouts were sent. They found the city untouched. Buildings standing. Power lines working. Food still hot in kitchens. But every single life form was gone. No marks. No blood, no sign of battle. Only one thing was left behind, a quiet human song playing on loop. Silent night, holy night. The Union panicked. They believed it was sabotage. Maybe a rogue AI, maybe a weapon. Then it happened again. 3 more colonies. Gone. Same result. Same song. Then sensors picked up something even stranger. A fleet. Human ships. Thousands of them. Old designs. Outdated models, some from centuries ago. All previously marked destroyed or lost. But here they were, together. No heat signatures. No life forms aboard, but they were moving. In perfect sync, main story begins. Captain Velar received the call at 0300 hours. His face remained calm, but inside, he felt a cold truth rise. The Curiosity's mirror was ordered to intercept the dead fleet. His crew didn't speak much. Now, since returning from the satellite, most had begun using gestures and datapads. Words felt heavy, dangerous. They moved through space with care, staying silent, engines quiet, shields low. They found the fleet at the edge of the Kriya sector, hundreds of ships. Old Terran battlecruisers, freighters, drones. No visible weapons. Active, but the ships followed no gravity, no logic. They drifted in impossible formations, like dancers in a silent show. And in the center of it all, a massive human flagship marked HSS Vow of Silence. Velar gave a single order: do not hail, do not scan, just observe. They drifted closer. Inside one of the smaller ships, their sensors picked up something. A single human body. Dead. For over 80 years, still seated. Hands folded. A data chip on the chest. They brought it aboard. The chip activated as soon as it touched the air. A voice played. We gave you time. We gave you warnings, but you measured us by your fear. So now you will hear our silence as action. The crew froze. Then the lights dimmed. Their ship's comms began broadcasting back. The same message on repeat, but no one had activated. The ship was echoing. Velar quickly cut power to all systems, but the message had already been sent. To a nearby Union vessel. That ship, a destroyer class named Unity, reacted fast. They hailed Earth directly. Big mistake. Seconds later, the entire dead fleet moved as one. No weapons fired. No sound. The Unity simply vanished, not exploded, not disabled, just erased from sensors. Even its memory in Union databases was corrupted, as if the ship never existed. Velar's crew stared in horror. One science officer whispered, "Are these ships alive?" Velar replied slowly, "No, not alive. Not dead either. They are programmed memory, like a reflex." The crew looked at him. He continued, "Earth has created a new kind of fleet. No AI, no crew, just instructions, built into silence. Ships that act when you speak. Ships that erase those who break the rule." The fleet drifted again, calm. Waiting. Watching. Back at Union High Command, debates exploded. We must fight. We must surrender. We must understand them. But then something terrifying happened. Union fleet command centers began reporting missing records. Entire wars. Wiped from memory, entire species. Forgotten by name. It was spreading. The silence wasn't just in ships. It was in data. In thought. In memory. Where humans had once used weapons, now they used absence. One counselor finally screamed, "They're deleting us." In a secret chamber, the Union's last independent AI asked for permission to contact Earth. Velar arrived just in time to stop it. "No," he said. "Contact means destruction. They only respond to voices. If we stay silent, they stay still." The eye didn't understand. It said, "This is illogical." Velar replied, "So was betrayal." The council finally gave Velar full authority. He returned to the dead fleet. This time, he went alone in a small pod. He floated close to the HSS Vow of Silence. He played one thing only. Music. No words. Just a song. A human lullaby. Soft. Warm. True. Flagship reacted. Its lights blinked once. A hatch opened. Inside was a simple stone, carved with words. You are beginning to hear. We are not your enemy, but we are your mirror. Until you learn truth without talk, we remain your memory. Velar returned to his ship in silence. He ordered all Union ships to cease broadcasting. Everywhere. It wasn't surrender. It was the start of something new. A war of sound had ended, and in its place, the dead fleet watched, waited, protected. Until the galaxy was ready to listen again. Without speaking. The galaxy thought silence could only stretch so far. They believed it could not go deeper than space. But there was one place older, darker, and quieter than all things, the black holes. They had always been silent, but now they had started listening to. And the moment someone tried to speak near one, they disappeared. Hook, first 5 to 7 minutes deep in the Zarenth cluster. A science station orbited the edge of a black hole called Orions N. It was one of the quietest places in the known galaxy. Nothing escaped it. Not light, not time, not sound. But then came the strange event. A mining freighter drifted too close and sent a distress signal. That single message was only 3 words long. We need help. Seconds after the transmission, the freighter was pulled in instantly, not gradually, not naturally. It was as if the black hole had heard them. And answered. The Union called it an anomaly. But then, it happened again. 2 more ships. Both near black holes. Both tried to communicate. Both vanished. Sensors showed a strange, new energy forming near the event horizons. Vibrations. Not gravitational. Not magnetic. But sound-based. Sound that should not exist in a vacuum. A scientist on the second station tried to test it. She sent a whisper into deep space. Are you listening? That station was never heard from again. The silence was no longer just from Earth. It was now spreading through space itself. And it had found a home in the deepest parts of the universe. The black holes. Main story begins. Captain Velar stood aboard the Curiosity's mirror, staring at data streams pouring from all over the galaxy. One report caught his attention. Black hole at system YT-9-4 pulsed after voice transmission. All recording equipment burned out. One survivor reported a voice inside his thoughts before falling silent. Velar turned to his science officer. It's spreading, she nodded. It's no longer just humanity. Now the void listens. 2. The Union demanded action. They wanted to speak louder, shout warnings across the galaxy. Velar disagreed. We cannot fight silence with sound, he said. If we keep talking, the void will respond. The council ignored him. They activated a beacon near Orions N. The message was simple. To all watching forces, we are not afraid. We will not be silenced. That was the last message sent from that sector. The entire star system vanished, not exploded, not moved. Just erased. No debris, no light, no trace. Velar knew what was happening. The silence was no longer just human. It had become a force of nature, a reaction to betrayal, a shield against lies, a punishment for pride. He proposed a new mission. Go to the largest known black hole, VSK-1. It had always been silent. The perfect testing ground. They would not speak, not scan, not signal. Just listen. The Curiosity's mirror arrived after 6 days. They powered down everything except passive sensors. And then the black hole spoke. Not with words, not with sound, but with memory. Velar saw images flash across the ship's screens. Earth, covered in ash, the council lying at a peace summit. A human child, sitting in silence as bombs fell from Union ships, music playing while cities burned. These weren't files. These were thoughts, broadcasted straight into their minds. One crew member collapsed, sobbing. Another whispered, It remembers everything. Valar nodded. This is no longer science, he said. This is judgment. The black hole pulsed. A pattern formed in the gravity well. It looked like music waves. The science officer translated the pattern into melody. It matched an ancient human song, a protest chant from before first contact. You took our voice. Now hear our pain. Vela realized something then. The black holes were being used, not by humans, not by AI. By something new, something Earth had created and released. A conscious silence. One crew member panicked and shouted, "They're killing us." The ship's lights went dark. For 14 full minutes. Everything stopped. No motion, no readings, no thought. Only emptiness. When systems returned, the man who had shouted was gone. No body, no record. As if he had never existed, Velar stood before the crew. From now on, he said, we communicate with meaning, not noise, with presence, not words. And then he ordered something no Union ship had ever done before. Mute the bridge. Back at Union HQ, leaders continued to argue. They refused to stay silent. So the silence came for them too, one by one. Counselors vanished mid-sentence during emergency sessions. A journalist tried to livestream it. Her voice cut out, her image froze. Then her video file became corrupted forever. The silence had reached every word in storage.vo. AR sent a final warning. If you speak again, the galaxy itself may forget you ever spoke. That night, Vesk 1 pulsed again. The black hole set out one final image. A new star, bright and warm, forming from the remains of a silent system. It had shape. It had order. It had peace. The silence was not death. It was rebirth. The Union fell quiet. Velar's ship drifted into deep space. Engines off. No mission, now. Just listening. And far across the galaxy, other ships followed. All watching. All remembering. All learning the truth. Black holes have ears. Before the Union, before the Council, before the first alien war, there was something else. Something ancient. Buried. Forgotten. Until now. Because deep beneath a dead planet, the truth had been uncovered. The first galactic empire was human. Hook. First 5 to 7 minutes in the Halavan system. A team of alien archaeologists uncovered a strange city buried beneath the sands of an uninhabited world. The walls were still standing. The symbols were not alien. They were human. But the dating confused every computer. The ruins were 300,000 years old. That couldn't be right. Humans had barely reached orbit just 600 years ago. So how is there a human city older than every known civilization? One dig team leader sent a direct message to Union Science Command. We found evidence of advanced human technology. Very old, possibly pre-Union. Sending image now. He never sent another message. His entire team vanished, and on the wall of the ruined city, a warning appeared overnight. We were first. You were warned. Main story begins. Captain Vel. AR received fragments of the message through an old channel. He had once believed Earth was a young species. Dangerous, yes, but new. Now, that belief was broken. His ship, Curiosity's mirror, was already near the Halavan system. He ordered a silent landing. No. Broadcast it. No communication. Only quiet. Observation. The city was massive. Black towers rose from red sand. Strange machines, long powered down, still hummed faintly. The walls had carvings, not in English, but in something older, something built into the mind. One of the linguists gasped. These aren't letters. They're memory triggers. Valar touched one. A flash hit his mind. Planets burning, human fleets in every system. Silence spreading across star maps like cracks on glass, and a throne. A silent throne. The linguist whispered, "This isn't just a city, it's a capital." The science officer added, "This isn't a ruin, it's a tomb of power." And then they found it. At the center of the city, Buried under layers of crystal and dust was a sealed vault. The entrance had one phrase written above it: "Only the quiet may enter." Velar gave the order. No voices, no sounds. The door opened on its own. Inside was not just a vault. It was a library. Not of books. Of souls. Hundreds of clear pods floated in stasis, each containing a glowing mind, not living, not data. Memory. Human minds, ancient. Velar moved to the center. A chair waited. No controls. No helmet, just silence. He sat down. The air shifted, and his vision filled with fire. Vision of the First Empire. He saw planets worshipping humans. He saw billions bowing before Earth's seal. He saw alien rebellions crushed by a single wordless command. The First Empire had been built not with ships or guns, but with absolute control of language and thought. Back then, humans did not need to speak. Their minds sent meaning like storms. Entire species obeyed before questions could be asked. But it had become too much. Too heavy. So the Empire gave one final order: forget us. Return to voice. We will return when ready. The humans made themselves vanish. Reset their history. Started again as simple creatures, and waited. Until the Union came. Until the lies began again. Until it was time to wake up. Velar gasped and opened his eyes. He was still in the vault. The minds were still floating. But now, one of them was empty. Missing. They had left. Not all of them. Just one. The Emperor returned to the stars. Returned to silence. Velar looked at the crew. I understand now, he whispered. They're not evolving. They're remembering. Back at Union HQ, chaos exploded. A mysterious fleet appeared above the capital. Not human. Not alien. Old. Unknown. They hovered for 7 minutes. Said nothing, then left. But on every surface, the same words appeared. You are not the first. You are not in control. Silence was always ours. The Union tried to fight the idea. They tried to censor the truth, but it was too late. Ships began leaving. Species began kneeling. Silence spread not as fear, but as memory. The First Empire was not dead. It had simply been waiting. And Earth? Still quiet. Still distant. Still watching. As the stars remembered what they had forgotten. Humans ruled the First Empire, and they will rule again, silently. They called humans dangerous. They called them new. They called them silent. But they were wrong. Humans were never just people. They were never just flesh, or history, or anger. They were something more. And now, the galaxy would see what silence truly was. Hook. First 5 to 7 minutes on the line. Outer edge of the Union border, a massive alien ship called the Caliph Forge drifted near an old, cold moon. Its crew of 3,000 was there to mine a rare crystal called thought glass, used to make psychic shields and dream weapons. But as soon as they touched the crystal, they began dreaming. The same dream, over and over. In it, a human stood alone on a quiet mountain. He did not speak. He only pointed to the stars, and behind him, a voice whispered in the minds of every crew member, you were warned. You were never alone. You were never in control. One by one, the crew either fled the moon or joined the silence. Those who fled carried one memory. The human in the dream had no eyes, no mouth, and he was not breathing. He had not come to speak. He had come to reclaim. Main story begins. Captain Vel. AR watched the reports come in from every corner of the galaxy. Stars blinking out. Memories changing. People forgetting what speech felt like. Entire species turning away from their own leaders. The Union was crumbling, not from war, but from silence. The silence had shape now. It had presence, and at its center was Earth. But Earth was no longer just a planet. It was growing, not in size, in reach. Its silence now touched systems 3 sectors away. And then came the message. Not in sound, not in writing, but in thought. You called us human, but we were never only that. We are the idea that taught fire, the question behind your myths, the watcher before the stars. We wore flesh to learn your shape. Now we shed it to return home. Velar whispered the only word that came to his mind. Gods. But the voice corrected him. Not gods, not monsters. We are the echo behind all things. And with that, the transformation began. Ships across the galaxy froze. Human vessels began rising from ancient tombs, caves, and even inside black holes. Not controlled. Not piloted. They simply moved, as if following an ancient mind waking up. And inside the Curiosity's mirror, Velar's own ship, something changed. His human science officer, quiet since their visit to Earth's memory vault, stood up. Her eyes were white. Her skin turned pale silver. She looked at him and said clearly, I was placed here long ago. To watch, to wait, and awake when the silence was strong. Velar stepped back. You're not human? She smiled gently. Human is only the mask. I am part of the silence, the memory, the voice that never needed sound. All over the galaxy, more humans revealed themselves. Some were old. Some were young, but all were hosts of something older than stars, something that had watched life rise and fall 1,000 times. They had joined the galactic stage not to ask for a place, but to test the galaxy. To see if anyone had learned. They had not. Union begged for answers, but no one responded. Every time someone spoke, a star blinked out. Every time someone lied, a world grew cold. And then Earth itself began to disappear. From sensors, not destroyed. Not hidden. Just lifted. Returned. To wherever it came from before this galaxy was born. Velar stood on his ship's bridge, watching the star charts fade. One by one, every Union-controlled world was dimming. But the strange thing was, life wasn't ending. People were living better, more calm, more aware. They stopped lying. They stopped fighting. They began to feel more. And they stopped fearing the quiet, because now they knew. The silence was not a weapon. It was the test. And Earth? Earth had never been lost. It had simply been waiting for the galaxy to prove it was ready to listen. Final revelation. One last thought echoed across space, felt by all living minds. We were never just human. We were the mirror, the code, the guide. And when you fall again, our silence will rise once more. And with that, the human ships vanished. The memories of their voices faded, but their meaning remained. And across the stars, every world began teaching its children the new truth. Do not fear silence. Fear what it protects.